Howdy guys, it's Joe here. Today we're talking about the player KolorBlind, an actual colorblind Bastion player. Or maybe he's just trolling us, and actually he isn't colorblind, and he just likes to play in the colorblind mode because he's cool. That could also be true. But yeah, I really do enjoy watching this player a lot. I feel like his stream's really fun to watch, and of course, gameplay is very, very enjoyable. So, I'd say maybe go check him out. As well, he's a really good Bastion, and has shown himself climb from the bottom all the way to the top with a ton of hours on this character. So yeah, you can kind of tell that he's really put in a lot of time and a lot of effort, and I want to tell you guys that if you've been thinking about playing Bastion in the past, now is really the best time out of ever to pick the character. He maybe isn't the most meta pick still, but he is a lot more meta than he has been, yeah, all time. Like, of all time, he's the most meta right now, and he really isn't a terrible pick. He is a little bit less, consistent than Soldier, but he can make up for that. He doesn't have as much burst damage, but he has a lot more damage over time. He does have this amazing sentry mode, and of course he does that self-heal and that damage reduction, which maybe doesn't 100% make up for what Soldier can do, such as the mobility, higher damage, headshots that work a little bit better and stuff like that. But still, if you want to play him, now is definitely the time. So I'd say maybe go pick him up. So as you see right here, though, we see a really, really great positioning to start off. I'd say this corner on this character is really great as, Bastion on Gibraltar. The one problem does come that they started to push up a lot, and normally what I'd see from a lot of Bastions is that they wouldn't have actually backed off right there. They would have tried to shoot for a little bit longer, try to get a little bit more damage, but this guy really knows when to back out, and that's what I feel like really puts him a huge amount above the rest. His positioning is extremely good. He has really good aim too, but it seems like his positioning is the thing that mainly helps him win a lot of games. As we see right here, he knows when to go up ramps, and he actually does go up this ramp, goes around a lot of corners, goes downhill a little bit, goes uphill a little bit. He knows really where to sit down on, and he knows when to move around. He doesn't really just stay sitting the same way every single second, which is nice. And overall, I'm going to say that height advantage on Bastion is probably one of the most important things that you should try to get yourself to be doing. As you can see right here, since he's in the corner, they really can't do anything. They could try to go the very long way, go above, over ground, but then of course his teammates could help. Right here we see something really amazing. Jump into the back line, maybe a little bit risky, maybe a little bit dumb, but it was something that was really funny in my opinion. And we get a nice Mercy res. And if you are a Mercy player and you see a Bastion that's right, your Bastion goes in and dies behind the enemy team, or, in a safe spot near your team, he can actually be a pretty good person to res. Mainly for the fact that if you do res the Bastion, if you happen to have the Bastion go into his form, sentry form, he can just immediately get into that while he's invincible. Right here we see him walking back. Of course, he could have been trying to shoot the Reinhardt this whole time, could have shifted back at that doorway and probably died, but instead, he went back, did the really smart thing to do, and he's overall pretty defensive with this character, and it works out really, really well for him. Even on offense, he plays a little bit weird, a little bit defensive-ish. It's just really kind of weird. The spot that he has right now is also very smart, because he can cover the left door and, of course, right in front of him. So he can cover all three options while being pretty safe, while getting healing, while getting damage boost. And, of course, if you do see a Bastion, you probably want to damage boost him, as he has one of the highest DPSs in the game, as I want to remind you guys again. Well, with this, I want to mention the fact that he is continuously poking the enemy Reinhardt shield. Of course, this is something that everybody knows to do, but a lot of the times people just simply don't. And a lot of the times people just simply wait for people to try to get closer before they start shooting. But as Bastion, it doesn't take way too long to reload. If you just, enter your sentry form, then leave it, you immediately have your ult again. Not your ult, but your shift. As far as right here, though, we do see his ultimate. Nano Boost Bastion is pretty good. If they're right next to each other, you can just blast through people, as we saw right there. And something that you might want to remember as Bastion is that you can actually get yourself at very nice height advantages in your ultimate. You can get yourself where you usually couldn't be. And of course, on certain maps, you can just boom yourself up, shoot them as the tank form, and then switch back to your other form. We see him coming right around back here, decides that maybe I could be a little bit closer up, right here, and we can see that the enemies don't really have much area where they can see him before he can start shooting at them. They can see maybe a little bit of him, but probably not any, while he can see their feet and start shooting at their feet. So that's what I feel like is really good about this positioning, and something that you can try to do as well. And overall, corners seem to be something that is very, very useful. Doorways, of course, slants, inclines, really anything like that can let you see their feet or their head before they could see you way too easily. It seems to be a place that you probably should be going as Bastion. Of course, you should also just be shooting as much as you possibly can to get any of this extra ult charge, because there's really no negative to that. And as well, something that I want to say is that whenever we see him getting attacked, he also always tries to run instead of just immediately going into tank mode and trying to kill them. I don't know why this happens, but I feel like a lot of people go into the tank mode, hold the right click, or hold the healing, and then just expect that they won't die, and then they try to kill the people, the enemies afterwards with the regular bullets. That's really not the best idea. What you should try to do is heal yourself while running backwards, and then maybe you could just keep shooting at the enemies in your recon mode, or go into your sentry mode and kill them from there, while you're a little bit further away, a little bit safer, in a better positioning. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff you can do. Alright, here we see him try to go for the air shots. A little bit weird, and you can see that he can kind of jank it out a little bit. Actually with his heal on himself, where you can shoot just a bit faster. So that's a nice little trick you can try to do, help yourself heal, while also getting out your free maximum damage output in your tank form. So yeah, that's just a kind of little trick that you can do. Alright, here we see something nice. You know, he gets killed. Waits for the mercy though, because they probably should revive. And then he walks backwards immediately, starts to shoot a little bit, realizes that the mercy probably could be killed, but maybe not in this situation. So he walks back a bit again, tries to go for people as far range as he possibly can. Of course, as well, gets next to a corner so he can't be killed way too easily, and then they just kind of push the enemies off the point. So that's something that's really nice to kind of realize. As well with this, we saw that immediately after you got revived, you can just instantly go into your sentry form. As I said earlier, you're completely free of charge, you aren't going to die in that form, and you can just start shooting straight out of it. It's a really nice thing that you can do as Bastion. And clutch Bastion revive plays are some of the best things that I feel like you can watch, and some of the best things that you can do if you're a Mercy player or if you're a Bastion player, you know, just going into that sentry mode as much as you can. As far as offense though, it's a little bit more tricky than defense. Of course, everybody knows that. Bastion is a primarily defensive character, works really well around corners, works really well with high ground, but a lot of defensive maps, you have to work with low ground, and you kind of have to walk around, see where you can get yourself into, and try to get some jank corners and some jank angles in order to finally get some kills. So you know, it's a little bit weird like that. Of course, he's just looking to see if he can find anyone possible. But we're going to see, you know, him try his best. As far as beginning, though, something that's a little bit different is I feel like a lot of people might just try to go straight onto the cart, go into that sentry mode, immediately start to push like that. But we see him actually running around the side and actually trying to get some high ground. And this is how you can actually do that on this map. You know, little did you know. He shoots people at far range with that sentry mode, or that recon mode, which you can do pretty easily. It's pretty safe. It then goes into the sentry mode. We can see this is a pretty smart idea because it'll make so that, well, where he's positioned, it'll make so that the Roadhog won't be able to hit the Bastion with his right click and insta-give him because he's halfway underneath the stairs, or at least he won't be able to as easily from far range. Fortunately, he does get shifted by the Ana, so that's just unfortunate for him, but still, it was a really good idea, and we see him still using positioning and just using height advantage, or I guess even height disadvantage, in order to give himself an advantage. So yeah, that's something that's kind of weird that you can try to implement. From there, though, he probably is thinking, you know, we probably can't get this height advantage as easily as I was hoping to. He decides to, though, go up with his Reinhardt. You can just kind of hide behind Reinhardt, and since they have a pick right now, they can go pretty offensive. He jumps down, sees whoever he can kill, sees that soldier, but then they kind of just run right into him and compact on him, and that is what is kind of awkward at playing Bastion on offense. If they just happen to dive on you, there's not much you can do, and it's not much height advantages that you can always take. It's just a little bit less safe and a little bit more awkward, and you really do have to wait for your team, and you probably want to wait for a few picks, and a lot of times just not even being next to your team can be safer than being next to your team, as they're probably going to target you first if you're next to your team. While you're off in the boonies, a lot of times they can't really kill you way too easily. But there we see again, though, him being hooked. Of course, Roadhog and Ana, and of course Junkrat, kind of, really do hurt Bastion a lot, so you do have to learn exactly where to position, and of course you also have to realize that you can't always 100% counter these people. You might have to go through a few deaths, you might have to, you know, experience a little bit of pain in order to get to a situation where you finally can actually win the team fight, where you finally can actually be in a good position, where you aren't going to get insta-hooked or instant shifted, where you are behind a Reinhardt shield, where you are being damage boosted at the same time by Mercy. It might take a little bit of time, but you still can just take that. It's a little bit annoying to have to wait for sometimes, but we see a really good example of that right here, where they finally do kind of wait for that. He gets on the point for once, and then just kind of waits there. Starts shooting around corners, and the thing you should do, of course, if you're Bastion, you should just always be shooting around corners when you're not doing anything, because if people walk around the corners, well, you're getting a lot of free damage. Right there, he knows that the soldier's probably going to walk right out, shoots them, you know, pre-aiming, pretty nice thing to do. And of course, since it's a projectile, you can do pretty well with that as well. He gets shifted by that. That was kind of unfortunate, but his healing with the Mercy healing is really insane. And we see him again walk backwards. He gets again back onto the stairs, and again can just maul people at far range and can slightly outdamage the soldier, especially since he's being healed. He can do pretty well, and then his team just pushes all the way to the end. I'm just going to say that overall, think about your positioning a lot more when you are playing Bastion. That seems to be the thing that does just kind of hold him up compared to a lot of other players. It's kind of hard to do some stuff, of course, we saw. It's really hard to know where to be always, and sometimes you're going to get picked, sometimes you're going to try to make some plays, and sometimes it's going to be pretty hard. But if you do know where to be, and if you do keep going there, and then eventually happen to get in this situation where you can do good, you still can win games, and you still can get a lot of consistent DPS out. You're just a little bit less safe than other people. But just because you're less safe doesn't mean you're a bad character, or that you stand no chance. It just means you have to play it a little bit differently, and you just kind of have to learn where to be a lot more, and get a lot more practice than that, than the majority of other characters. But that's all I'm really going to say about that. Anyways, thank you guys for watching. As always, if you guys did enjoy, make sure to leave a like. Comment down below if you know any other tricks as Bastion, as I'd like to hear as much as you guys constantly can say. Subscribe if you want to see any more future content. And as always, guys, thank you all for watching, and have a wonderful day.